Welcome to the Cover 2 presented by Tigervision. This is episode 71. This is Grayson Mann. I'm Patrick Neal, as it says right there. We are back doing football-related stuff. However, there's no live football, so instead, we're going to be doing a bracket. I got the paper right here. You probably can't see that. Grayson's got it on his laptop. But we're going to be talking about the last 16 Super Bowl champions. And we're going to be doing a bracket to see which one we think is the best in the last 16 years.
There we go. I chose the wrong hoodie for this today because there's going to be a lot of bias implications. But we'll be fair. So I will just quickly break down the first round of matchups, and when we keep advancing, we'll talk about who's advancing matchups. Some of our criteria is going to be what seed were they when they made their run, what was their matchup within the Super Bowl, and then just certain players or memories that we feel make them the more dominant team, and then we'll come away with a winner at the end of this. So I'm really excited about that.
Oh, yeah.
So where do you want to start on this bracket? Do you want to go from the top and start?
We can go from the top down. We'll tell you the matchup as it's happening. It was randomized by Grayson. So first matchup we have here, the 2012 Ravens versus the 2022 Chiefs.
So the first thing that sticks out to me with this matchup is this is actually the first Super Bowl that I can remember from start to finish with the 2012 Ravens. I was in 5th grade. They had just came off of this miraculous run where they won twice on the road, beating Peyton Manning and Tom Brady. So that's already on its own. Joe Flacco made his household name and got his contract there versus Patrick Mahomes and the 2022 Chiefs.
Yes, this was the team first year without Tyreek Hill, so everybody was wondering, could the Chiefs do it without Tyreek Hill, without a dominant number one receiver, although they did have Travis Kelce. It didn't matter. Mahomes won MVP. If you remember correctly, had a sprained ankle that he re-aggravated in this Super Bowl, but it did not matter.
He had that run too, that 20-yard run that set up the field goal.
It didn't matter because it never matters with Mahomes.
That's right.
But they beat the Eagles narrowly with a last-second Harrison Butker field goal. If you also remember, Rihanna performed at the halftime show, so I'm giving bonus points.
Giving bonus points, okay.
Because also the Ravens, while this was a really good defense, Joe Flacco, he went 11 touchdowns, 0 interceptions during the playoffs. It wasn't quite the early 2000s Ravens defense.
No, because some of the factors that I think would affect this matchup is this was Ed Reed, this was Ray Lewis, but Ray Lewis had broken something heading into this playoff run.
And he also retired after this game.
Yeah, I think he tore his pec. That was what it was. So you have a hobbling Ravens team that was really the excellence of Joe Flacco. And so I think I'm going to take Kansas City to move.
I'm also going to, even though I don't think this is the best Kansas City team.
No, I think we'll get to that in a bit with one of our other matchups.
Let's go Chiefs.
So advancing to round 2, our first advancement is going to be the 2022 Ravens, 2012 Ravens, or 2022 Chiefs. The 2012 Ravens have been eliminated.
Yes. So our next matchup, the 2011 Giants versus the 2014 Patriots.
So 2011 Giants, another Patriots slayer with Elisha Manning. And some of the circumstances here, this was New England, their number 1 seed that year. The Giants were I think they were a 4 seed heading into this year. They'd won the division narrowly, kind of skidded down the stretch.
9 wins.
9 wins.
9-7 record. And a negative point differential during the regular season.
And they were playing a Patriots team in 2011 that did not have Rob Gronkowski healthy. He broke his ankle 2 weeks prior and was playing on a hobble thing there. The receiving core wasn't as strong in 2014. I know that it might come as a quick bias, but I think that this 2014 Patriots team was designed to beat Giants teams like these. Much better defense, much better secondary. I think New England's defense was 31st that year in 2011. They were in the top 5 in 2014.
Yeah. I'm also, I assume you're going to pick the Patriots.
Yeah.
Yeah, this Giants team, probably one of the weaker Super Bowl winners over the last 16 years. Probably of all Super Bowl winners.
Mm-hmm.
Both of the Giants teams, their main thing is that they beat the Patriots, and when they weren't supposed to. So, you kind of get that narrative of they weren't favorites. They were underdogs. You had in 2007, you had the helmet catch and all of that.
Yeah.
You didn't quite have that in 2011, but yeah, still a somewhat weaker team.
Yeah, and some of the names on this Pats team besides Brady, you had Gronk in arguably his prime, 2014. You had Darrelle Revis on this squad, a younger Devin McCourty, Vince Wilfork in the middle. Malcolm Butler.
Who was never heard from again after this game.
That is right. This was his Super Bowl moment because he was benched and he got sauced in the Super Bowl against Atlanta. So I think we're taking 2014 Patriots. That'll be a very interesting matchup in round 2 between them and the Chiefs.
All right, third matchup. The 2020 Buccaneers, so the Tom Brady Buccaneers, versus the 2019 Chiefs.
Ooh, you know what this is interesting? This is the essentially, when you look at these two teams, they pretty much already played in the Super Bowl.
Pretty much.
This feels like that was the run it back team with Kansas City and a whole weird COVID year. So what are some of your thoughts on this matchup? Because my thought process was, well, they've already played twice, and I think both of them were blowouts. One was in the regular season, and one was in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, so, I mean, you mentioned it. The Chiefs in 2020 lost to the Buccaneers, and it was, 31-9, I believe?
It was bad.
It was bad. However, that was one of, if not the best quarterback performance I've ever seen for, given his stats, given that he only had 270 yards passing and no touchdowns. But he had we're speaking of Mahomes here, multiple plays where he's horizontal to the ground, parallel to the ground, throwing and getting it to his receivers. They just couldn't catch it. Kind of always been a big deal, I guess, that the Chiefs wide receivers can't catch for Patrick Mahomes. But, yeah, you mentioned this. The Bucs did kind of beat a very similar Chiefs team. But also, this 2019 Chiefs team was not the first year of Patrick Mahomes because he got to the AFC Championship in 2018, but kind of when they really arrived.
They put it together. They got over the AFC Championship hump that year against Tennessee. This is the toughest one, I think, to pick out of the
first round.
Out of the first round, I think the rest of them are somewhat obvious or a little bit less for debate. I am back and forth on this. It's really difficult, but I think, if I'm incorrect, I think the 2019 Chiefs offensive line was much better, and I think the way that the Bucs attacked Kansas City was send 5 every time, make Mahomes uncomfortable. So, I think I'm going to go with the 2019 Chiefs. As much as it stinks to go against Brady, I think that 19 Chiefs team was really good.
I think that 19 Chiefs team was stronger than the 20 Chiefs team.
I agree with that.
So, yeah, let's go with the 2019 Chiefs. All right,
this will be
next
fun.
matchup.
The 2015 Broncos and the 2017 Eagles. So you have actually two teams that both won games with a backup quarterback that year. The Broncos in the regular season with Brock Osweiler when Manning went down with an injury, and then the Eagles in 2017 with Nick Foles in the Super Bowl. I think this one is a little easier. I think that Broncos team was really carried by a special defense with Manning just barely able to hold on. I think I'm going to take Philly in this, unless you disagree.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree at all. You have Nick Foles at the height of his powers.
That's right.
And Peyton Manning at the absolute worst of his powers. So, given that Nick Foles is already up there with Peyton Manning, of course not. But regardless, like you mentioned, Peyton Manning, this is the very end of his career, his worst season statistically. Hanging on by a thread. This Philly team was very, very good. They had Carson Wentz, who, if he had stayed healthy, might have won MVP.
They also had a great running attack with Jay Ajayi and LeGarrette Blount.
Jay Ajayi. Two great running back names, which, if you've ever played the game of how many random NFL running backs can we name, those two names always come up. So, yeah, I'm with you. I think Philly clears this one.
And they were also just a stronger team, I think, that year, because Denver won a lot of those low-scoring games with the Denver defense with Von Miller. But I think the difference with Denver versus when Carolina played, the Eagles had great tackles in that Super Bowl, and they really did a great job of protecting Nick Foles in the playoffs. And New England had Trey Flowers, who was an All-Pro that year, and James Harrison signed with the team for 3 weeks. Not one sack that game. So I think the Eagles move on to the next round.
Yep. So now we're going to go to the 2009 Saints.
Ooh.
Drew Brees' lone Super Bowl against the 2023 Chiefs. So this past winter just happened a few weeks ago.
This is the Bountygate Saints too, because I think in 2011 is when it was 2011 and 2012 when that punishment was finally received on them. That Saints team was nasty.
Saints team was very good. One of the top offenses. Drew Brees and Sean Payton have always been known for their connection together. And yeah, this season it worked fantastically. They beat the Colts. They beat Peyton Manning. Meanwhile, I think this Chiefs team, they were a wild card team, underdogs in almost every single playoff game they had. While they beat the Ravens and they beat the 49ers, probably some of the two toughest opponents they've had to play over the past years, at least Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Andy Reid, the guys who have been there for every single Super Bowl. I don't know. It's a pretty weak team. Although you look at it and it's Mahomes playing with no true wide receivers.
Right. That's what we're counting.
Fantastic defense, and it didn't matter. So
I think I'm going to go with the Saints because I think that there were moments in that game against Kansas City, and you're looking at a great offensive mind like Sean Payton too, who could craft some things up. Because it looked like they only needed to score about 20 points to win. That Saints offense was lighting people up. Drew Brees in his prime. I mean, what a treat.
Yeah, we can go Saints there.
Yeah.
Next up, the 2008 Steelers versus the 2016 Patriots.
Another Pats team. We've had a lot of Pats and Chiefs
You're
teams.
acting like that wasn't going to be the case. Like, there were always going to be a lot of Patriots teams.
Well, we have 3 Chiefs teams and we have 3 Patriots teams.
Yeah.
So it was kind of bound for, I think that, because that Steelers team was Big Ben's second Super Bowl, really tough to bring down. I do think that the Steelers are probably one of the more weaker ones of the group.
I would agree. Yeah.
2016 New England, the famous comeback against Atlanta.
One of the greatest comebacks of all time, if not the greatest.
And they steamrolled. I think when Brady came back from suspension, they won by an average of 15 points a game heading into the playoffs. It was something wild like that. Brady was on a path to get to the Super Bowl and just anger Goodell as much as possible.
Yeah, and the Patriots needed some things to go their way, some magical things to go their way, but the Steelers also did with the James Harrison pick six and the Santonio Holmes catch.
Yeah.
So I think the Patriots clear the Steelers in this game. This was one of the stronger Patriots teams.
14 and 16, I think, are Belichick's most complete teams in terms of offense and defense complementing each other. So I think we'll go with the 16 Pats there. I think we will have an interesting discussion with a certain Patriots team down the road, but this will be, I think, an easier one, but you may disagree with me. The 2013 Seahawks and the 2021 Rams. I think this is easy. I think Seattle's defense was
Seattle.
all time.
Legion of Boom, prime Legion of Boom era. Russell Wilson was doing fantastic things. This Rams team was very good. They had a lot of really great individual players. They had a great coach. This was what culminated with the Rams deciding to trade all of their picks to F them picks.
Yeah.
We'll censor ourselves on this show, but yeah, Rams, great team, but they almost lost to the Bengals. Wish it had happened.
We'd be talking about them if that was the case.
Yeah, and they would have lost this game too.
They would have.
Because Joe Burrow could not get protected whatsoever. But,
so 2013 Seattle, pretty simple there. And you also had the Marshawn Lynch in his prime. Russell Wilson being asked to do maybe 2 or great things a game, which he was clearly capable of at that point. So I think 2013 Seattle, I think they're a Final Four contender.
For sure. And then our final matchup of the first round, the 2018 Patriots versus the 2010 Packers.
So this team actually reminds me of the 2023 Chiefs, a very weak Super Bowl team. The Patriots were coming in, probably their worst skill set offensive. I remember Brady said a quote that we weren't the most talented, we just had to win on pure football. But what makes this interesting is this is a Packers team that came in as a 6th seed, one of the few to win the Super Bowl as a 6th seed. I don't know if there's any other in terms of recently in this century. So you have Aaron Rodgers playing at the height of his powers, won the MVP the very next year with the same team, essentially. So I think I remember watching a documentary, and this Packers team, the reason they were a 6th seed is they were so injured then they got healthy at the right time
Right.
and just steamrolled through everybody.
Yeah. And, the 2019, or I guess the Super Bowl happened in 2019, but
Yeah.
Patriots Rams Super Bowl, one of the most forgettable Super Bowls in a while, 13-3.
Yeah.
Not a lot happens.
That was a good defense. in
Good
2018.
defense, but also if you're scoring 13 points in the Super Bowl and you're somehow winning, luck's probably on your side.
Yeah.
So
I
I think
the
Packers.
Yeah. Aaron Rodgers in that Super Bowl II put up a masterclass. They had the Steelers in control the entire time. So our second round matchups are let's just read them off for you guys, is the 2010 Packers and the 2013 Seahawks, the 2016 Patriots and the 2009 Saints, the 2017 Eagles and the 2019 Chiefs, and the 2014 Patriots versus the 2022 Chiefs. Some tough decisions that we made.
All right, so we're going to go from bottom down again.
Sure, let's do that.
So the 2022 Chiefs versus the 2014 Patriots.
Man, I think we'll be looking like at the 2022 Chiefs the same way we look at the 2014 Pats team and go, I can't believe they were on that team in terms of players of that caliber. Just in terms of the reminiscing, like, oh, I can't believe Travis Kelce was at the height of his powers, or Gronk, or Mahomes, or Brady, Revis, Will Fork, Chris Jones. They're very similar teams, I feel.
Yeah. However, that Chiefs defense, they had a lot of rookies playing. They had their defense is still very young. I believe the youngest in the NFL. But this, the 2022 year, you had a lot of inexperience in that secondary.
Yeah.
And I think in this case, Brady, he's had multiple peaks in his career, but this was one of them. And I think he probably carves that defense up.
And that
secondary
Super Bowl II was against the Seahawks Legion of Boom defense.
Exactly.
And Brady threw for 4 touchdowns in that game as well. That was one of those classic Brady games where you pick them apart. And I actually rewatched this game a couple weeks ago, and they not only did Brady throw for 4 touchdowns, they came down 10 twice they came down 10 in the fourth quarter in that game. So Seattle knew they were passing, and it didn't matter because Tom Brady put together a pretty great performance for his 4th Super Bowl. So 2014 New England, our first Final Four
You're gonna go
contender.
Through. Yep. We haven't had like a huge disagreement yet, which is a little interesting, but
we'll get to it eventually.
We'll probably
I'm
get
sure.
to it. All right, so we got the 2019 Chiefs versus the 2017 Eagles. I think personally, I'm gonna take the Chiefs.
I think the same points we mentioned about Kansas City this was kind of the game they figured it out. Game against 49ers, really great team. Philadelphia coming in. I think Kansas City gets this one. I'm just not as sure probably as you are, but I'm accepting it.
Like, this was the most explosive Chiefs offense. Mm-hmm. This was Mahomes doing. I just don't think Nick Foles can beat Tom Brady, but I don't think he can beat Patrick Mahomes.
That's such a weird statement, right?
Yeah. Partly to make you mad. However, like when it comes down to it, if nothing else, quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes objectively much better than Nick Foles. So
you can convince me on that.
You have a Chris Jones who's maybe not quite at the peak of his powers. They had Tyrann Mathieu on the roster. I'm gonna go with the Chiefs here.
Okay, I'll wave the white flag on that one. So we have the 2014 Patriots and the 2019 Chiefs in the Final Four. Okay, next one we have the 2016 Patriots and the 2009 Saints. Ooh, interesting. Okay, I want to hear your thoughts first on this.
I personally think the Patriots probably, this specific team, like you mentioned, the 2016, 2014, two of Belichick's strongest teams, if not the strongest. I just think, to come back in everything that they were able to accomplish, still a very strong team despite being down to the Falcons early. And the Patriots just, have always been known for their defense. Mm-hmm. probably a more complete roster than the Saints in 2009. And yeah.
And the thing with the matchup between the Chiefs and the Saints is that we liked the Chiefs' defense a lot, but it's the offense that we couldn't complement to beat a team like Drew Brees' Saints in 2009. New England was more than capable of putting up points that year. You know, their second, so Gronk went down this year. Martellus Bennett was their starting tight end. Pretty solid guy, started around the league. He was their backup, if that kind of gives you an idea of the depth.
Because Gronk only played, what, like 8 games?
8 games. I think he broke it was something in his back. I don't know how he's walking today because I feel like every year he broke his back, but it is the 2016 Patriots. So we have 2 Pats teams and a Chiefs team in our Final Four. We got one more spot. Seattle, 2013 versus the 2010 Packers. I still think this 2013 Seahawks team, this would be an absolute blowout. I think also, too, that Packers defense was pretty, not weak, but susceptible to the run. And everyone was susceptible to the Marshawn Lynch attack. And so give me the 2013 Seahawks to round out our Final Four.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it.
So, yeah, our Final Four, 14 Patriots, 2019 Chiefs, the 2016 Patriots, and the 2013 Seahawks. So, yeah. Let's get it. The 2014 Patriots, 2019 Chiefs.
So I likely the strongest of both dynasties, I'd say. With the
you think the 14 Patriots are better than the 16?
I think the secondary was much better. You had Brandon Browner, Darrelle Revis. You had Malcolm Butler, obviously, doing his thing, and then they had McCourty and Chung, who were in the prime of their career. I think McCourty and Chung. I think they had 3 or 4 Pro Bowlers in the secondary that year, which is an ideal situation when covering Patrick Mahomes and those Chiefs. So the real problem would be is Tyreek Hill. I think that's the big X factor there. But I think you honestly probably put Revis on Travis Kelce, and you get some guys like McCourty and them to cover Hill over the top. If you're thinking about it strategically,
put your best corner on their second best target, and then double their best target.
Because I think Kelce is a one in his own right too.
Sure.
In 2019.
Yeah, of course.
So this is an interesting one. I think for me, I just think this 14 team had there was no holes with this 14 team. And this was also the same Super Bowl that Mahomes threw multiple picks in. And so when you mentioned the secondary that New England had, I could potentially see them in this matchup getting a couple. I could see Revis potentially swatting one. Maybe Belichick designed something within that secondary to make just one mistake that happens. And I could see New England taking it.
Yeah, and you know, we had the 2020 Bucs with Tom Brady, with Gronk on the roster, you know, being close to the 2019 Chiefs. This Brady is probably, you know, a little younger, so a little bit better as well. And this Patriots roster probably better than the Bucs roster, although the Bucs roster was still very, very good.
Yeah.
They were very much sound in pretty much every position, but I think the Patriots probably just had that extra bit of quality.
And I'm also looking at quality of opponents that they faced too. We talked about that 14 Seattle team that could have easily gone back to back, and that 49ers team with Jimmy Garoppolo. You could argue too there were one missed throw to Emmanuel Sanders in that Super Bowl from taking the Super Bowl there, but that's big what if.
So yeah, if you want to put the Patriots in the finals, I'll be with that.
You'll
decision.
be with that? Okay.
So we've got the 2014 Patriots in the final, potentially against the Patriots. So we have the 2016 Patriots versus the 2013 Seahawks.
This one's tough.
I think I'm gonna say the Seahawks.
I'm gonna think about this for a second. I gotta ponder, because I think the 16 Patriots offense went down a little bit, especially without that threat of Gronk. When you look at the 2 matchups,
right?
So they didn't have to really have Gronk in that one. It was more about attacking over the middle, and regardless, I think Seattle with Richard Sherman and Earl Thomas, the strong hitters that they had,
Cam Chancellor as well.
Cam Chancellor, all in their prime. That running game with Seattle, like if New England got down 17-3, let's say, in this game, there's no shot because Marshawn Lynch is getting 5 or 6 yards of carry.
And you have that defensive line as well.
Yes, I mean, they also blew out of the water the best offense since the 2018 Chiefs.
Yeah.
With Peyton Manning, 43-8. That's pretty hard to do.
It wasn't close.
It was not
wasn't
close. I think 2013 Seattle was certainly special.
Yeah.
And so I think they'll belong in the final.
Yeah. And also for, to not have two Patriots team in the final, because that's boring.
That is also very boring.
And Grayson already, talked about 2014 versus 2016.
I think 2014 is better, so.
We'll put the 2013 Seahawks in the final. So our final matchup is the 2014 Patriots versus the 2013 Seahawks.
So we ended up with Super Bowl 49.
Yeah, we ended up with Super Bowl 49, and the Patriots won that game. So
we kind of dug ourselves a hole there.
But I don't know. Is there any additional points you would consider
for Seattle?
For Seattle.
I mean they let go of Percy Harvin, who had a touchdown in the Super Bowl. They traded him away in 2014. That's the only offensive piece I think that they lost from 2013. When looking at points for Seattle, I'm not sure, because I think that both of them, when they're stacked up, it's basically the same. I remember the conversation was that those 2 weeks was, is Brady going to get embarrassed like Manning did last year? Because it was the same team, just with a weaker skill position, I guess, than the Broncos did. With Edelman, Gronk. You had I think it was Justin Thomas. I'm trying to think of the tight end they had, but it was Demaryius Thomas, Eric Decker, Wes Welker, all having 1,000-yard seasons. So I guess when you look at it, I think personally for me, it feels like Super Bowl 49. It's the same team, same players, same threats, and New England ends up coming out on top there. And I guess you could do we want to consider that what if, in effect, of who is potentially better if Seattle just runs the ball?
Yeah.
Or do you look at it as Belichick with a better coaching moment, just trying to catch Seattle on their toes?
See, I never had a huge problem with the play call.
I didn't either.
Because, everybody and their mother is expecting the Seahawks to run the ball there. And, if that play works out, it's probably thought of as one of the smartest ideas ever.
They're like, oh, I can't believe everyone zigs, they zag type thing.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just the Patriots. You've seen that thing that they practiced that play they practiced that play on scout team, and the Butler got beat on it every single time in practice.
Yeah, exactly.
And then saw the formation in the Super Bowl and just
cut it. He went off his assignment and went straight to the ball and got it. So, are we saying Malcolm Butler is the most important NFL player in the last 16 years?
I do.
Maybe.
I still think it's the most iconic play of the century with Butler. That
Yeah.
may just be this is why I'm upset I wore the shirt, because people might roll their eyes at that, but I think it's kind of true. Unless there's certain things. I think he's certainly in the top 5. Maybe David Tyree, his catch.
You could argue that. You could argue that.
As much as I hate to argue,
fan.
it's a pretty good play. I can't deny that.
So, are we just
so
going to put the
sad.
Patriots? I'm okay with it. I'm not necessarily the world's largest Patriots hater. So.
Right. I'm trying to think of things that Seattle had versus the year prior. It's the exact same team. They just ran it back. I feel like.
And for what it's worth, if you put the Patriots as the singular team, the 2014 Patriots as the singular team with the best Super Bowl team in the past 16 years, it's also kind of a culmination of the Patriots being the best team in the 20th century, probably. Or 21st century, not 20th century. Whoa. 21st century. So,
I think
just like Mahomes is inevitable, the 2010s, the 2000s Patriots were inevitable, and
there we go.
Yeah, if there's nothing else to learn from this experiment, it's that Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, but Tom Brady is just, Tom Brady. So
I think we got the right final 2, in my opinion.
I would agree with that.
I think we got the right final 2.
Both teams fantastic, evenly balanced on both sides of the ball. Mm-hmm. If nothing else, fantastic quarterbacks, fantastic coaches as well, and kind of defines that era of the Super Bowl.
Yeah, there's just so many Hall of
of the
Famers on
NFL.
both teams. If we were to look at the whole roster, you could probably point out double-digit Hall of Famers for both squads, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. So, 2014 Patriots, we have decided, final say. Nobody can say anything else.
No takebacks.
No, nothing can be changed in the history books. The best Super Bowl team of the past 16 years. Are there any non-Super Bowl winning teams that would maybe challenge for this title?
Non-Super Bowl winning team, probably the 2014 Seahawks, to be honest. That Packers team in 2014 was really good. There were a lot of good teams in 2014. Let's think about this for a second. 2018 Chiefs?
Yeah, maybe. You had like the 49ers this year. If they won, I don't think they would have won this bracket by any means, but just in terms of quality of players they had, the quality of the team they had, quality of the coach.
It was an excellent roster.
Brock Purdy is probably one of the weaker QBs on this list, if not the weakest, but everybody else besides that. I'm trying to think of.
I guess you could say the 2013 Broncos, just based off of history alone.
Except they just got waxed by the Seahawks.
I can't get the blowout out of my mind. I like that we did this. This was a good idea.
Well, you came up with it, so.
Not to pat myself on the back or anything, but I'm going to do that right now.
Great idea, Grayson. I'll say it.
I need the validation.
You don't have to. But that's, is there anything else?
I think we've covered it all.
Yeah, good episode. We want to thank you for tuning in. That was the Cover 2 presented by Tigervision. Thank you to Zach and Connor in the back for producing as always. Go like, subscribe, comment, follow Tigervision on YouTube, Instagram, all that sort of stuff. And we'll see you next week. Have a good one.